So when it comes to racing here in Indianapolis, what are your thoughts about racing here? It's obviously a very special place to you.
It is. It always been. Indy is a special place with the Indy 500 and the Brickyard, and everybody that wins here is special. So there's been a lot of good races, and I've been here in many different kind of cars, and it's a fun place to be. So hopefully we get a good weekend, good fun weekend. It's the last one for me. Just came in for Can-Am and Kappa for the weekend. Did 2 races this year, Sonoma and here, and that's it for me this weekend.
Right. Obviously 2005 was a big year for you at this track, ran the Indy 500. Comparing the build-up to this event to that one, does anything really compare?
It's different with the 500 than this one. 500 was the first time actually I got to race here, and I was so impressed with the crowd, and the people in the grandstands, and I couldn't believe it. It was like racing through a crowd of people. So it was very impressive. We came in, had to come in by a helicopter because too many people, and so it was a lot of fun. I know these guys do come in on helicopter, but not me. Now, but it was a lot of fun. And the Brickyard, when I did it, I truly enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. We had a good race. We finished 16, so it was a good day.
Right. Did you ever envision yourself racing a stock car here?
I know I never did. First time I did. I mean, when I came in stock car in 2008. And then I got to Daytona, and I was coming out of pit lane, and Tony Stewart was coming in, and I couldn't believe it. It was like surreal, you're with these guys. So hopefully we get a good weekend. Had a little bit of a touch with Kyle Busch there in practice. Yeah, my mistake, but it's racing, and hopefully we get a good rest of the weekend.
And you went to go talk to him after the incident?
Yeah, just felt bad. He's got a big team racing for the championship and a good car, and you don't want to be in these guys' way. We do our business and stuff, and I misjudged it, and I just pulled in, kind of left him some space once the spotter had told me he was kind of going inside, and I just squeezed him too much. So it was nice not to take me out, but unfortunately he took himself out, but his car was fine, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Your first race this year was at Sonoma. Apparently you lost the AC in the car, and you were very hot.
It was crazy. It was. I've never been that hot in a race car. It was something I'll remember. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing in these cars? And I couldn't breathe, and I thought I was gonna pass out. And so it was different kind of weekend, and ended up running the whole race. But I had to stop in the pits and fix that, so we lost some laps. But it was fun.
You give maybe your personal fitness to maybe suffering through something like that and not pulling over?
Yeah, what I realize is I've trained a lot. I mean, I've done a lot of cycling this summer, a lot of training, a lot of stuff, and even stopped drinking.
That's good.
But that's good. Yeah, no, seriously, I really did. And unless you spend a lot of time in these cars and drive them a lot, the way you drive him when you don't get to do it often is just different. You're just more tense a little bit maybe, or something's different, and it's just much harder than a Tony Stewart or a guy that's always sitting in the car. So even if you train a lot, you don't get to spend a lot of time sitting in the car. And I thank Can-Am and Kappa and these guys for the opportunity. It's pretty unbelievable. But honestly, just to come in on a weekend like that, and I'm not sure I'll do that again too much.
Right. So comparing, stock cars to open wheel cars, that's one thing you don't have to worry about in an open wheel car because you got the open face.
Yeah. The wind's blowing at over 200 miles an hour, so it's not too bad. But inside the cockpit of a NASCAR, it gets pretty hot. And when the vent system broke, I didn't have any air flowing inside the helmet, so I just couldn't breathe, and I was not tired physically. I mean, physically was fine, and I was okay. A couple hours later I was fine, and like nothing happened, but it's just that it got so hot I couldn't focus.
Right. Going back to your big season in 2008 here, can you break down the learning curve you had to go through? It's such a different animal here.
It is. It's very different than anything I've ever done. The tracks are fast. The level of racing is unbelievable. Even for this team, I applaud what they do and how they do it, because to follow up with the Hendrick and the Joe Gibbs and the big teams, they got so much resources, so much money, so much that it's very hard to compete with these guys. And as a driver, you just need, I think, to spend pretty much your whole life in it and just learn the cars from the small track and around the country, and just learn how they work and the technical side of it and everything, and so you can direct the crew chief in the right direction. So that's pretty much what it is. So it was a big learning curve in 2008, and every time we stop, the track changes so much in one race.
Yeah.
Every time you stop in a pit stop, it was so hard just to tell the crew chief, like, he said, what do you need? I'm like, speed. I know I need speed, but I don't really know what it is. So it was tough. And I remember a couple of times they gave me a Casey Kane setup and stuff, and we're fast. I mean, we're very fast, but it didn't last long because I couldn't help him out to set it up in the race.
Yeah. What turned you on about NASCAR? Why did you join here in the first place?
Just the cars. Tested it and tried it in Montreal, and my God, I love driving these cars. These cars, you really gotta feather the throttle, and to me it was like a big taxi cab on steroids. So it was just a lot of fun, and I liked it. And when I got the offer to do it, to be honest with you, I wish I would have got an offer to go into the Xfinity first and then climb my way up to sprint cars. But now I got straight into sprint cars, which was too much. It was too hard. Even doing this, what I'm doing now is it's happening pretty fast inside the cockpit. But that'll be the last time this weekend. But just a blast, fun cars to drive too.
Yeah. Just think back to that number 10 Dodge and how the team treated you, how you enjoyed being with the team and having that your first season.
It was fun. I mean, I had some good guys and on the team, and Ray Evanham, when he was there at the beginning, helped me out a lot. Ray was a good guy, and like Ray said at the beginning, he said, if you hire this guy, you need to sign him up for 3 years, otherwise don't hire him, because that's what it's going to take to learn it. He's going to crash car at first, maybe have some good performance on the second year, and third year we'll see what he's made of. So that was kind of the philosophy, and then they kind of let me go at the end of the first year, and I thought we had a decent year. I mean, with the team we had a pole position at Loudon, qualified fourth, missed the pole by thousandths of a second at Richmond, qualified fifth at Fontana. So any kind of track we qualified decent. The results were not there necessarily. It was tough to finish, but I thought it was pretty good for a first year, so I was very disappointed, but that's the way it goes.
Is Loudon your favorite moment from that season, or maybe something different?
It was. Richmond, I loved it. We missed the pole, but I loved it there. But Loudon was a lot of fun, just to start the race up at the front there, and Harvick was beside me, and I gave him a break in Montreal when he raced the Xfinity. Then push him off the track, and gave me the favor back at Loudon. Let me do a couple laps up front, and then I let him by. So it was pretty cool.
So now being back here, it's been about 5 years since you've been in a Cup car. What got you back?
Yeah, on an oval. It's been 5 years. Well, these guys, they sponsor Jeffrey. Jeffrey's a good guy, and this year, and it's a business that works in the US and Canada, BRP, and with the Spider and the bike and the stuff they have, and they're coming into growing the US market, if you want to. So, and just wanted somebody from up north there to do a couple of races for them, and since they got Jeffrey all year long, Bobby Labonte on the super speedway, so it's I said, yeah, sure, I'll try it. And I'm a TV analyst up in Montreal. So we cover all the NASCAR stuff, and I thought, a road course and an oval, so at least I'll know what I'm talking about. So I'll go and do it and feel the cars and see how they've changed, because last time I was in was with the car of tomorrow, which I called the big school bus. But these cars are amazing, actually. They're very low, very responsive, and very fun to drive.
After Montreal in 2011, retirement was the big word, and you said you had troubles standing back from racing. Can you just describe that time in your life?
It's hard. All my life been racing, whether it's NASCAR, Indy cars, anything, go-karts, and speed skating. Even speed skating at a young age. We used to train down in Lake Placid and prepare for the winter racing. So it was hard. It's a heck of a change, and I'm sure Jeff Gordon is similar. He's done the TV analyst and commentary early on in the year, and now probably like he needs to do something and came back in the car. So sad for Dale, but I'm pretty sure for Jeff it's a good challenge and fun to be driving again. But when you've done that all your life, I mean, I've been driving 27 years now. It's very different. We got some real estate in Vegas, and we take care of that. And luckily, I got some stuff that I accumulated during while the time I was racing. Not a lot, but at least we get by, you know.
Right.
And so it's just different. I'm just starting actually to get used to it.
Right. What did the getting over drinking, was that you know one of the big, you know, points of your life to really get over that hump, and was that a big deal for you?
The driving, you mean, getting over
Drinking, yeah.
Yeah, it was tough, but oh, you mean drinking?
Drinking, yeah.
Yeah. No. I was just kidding about that.
Oh,
I
you
was
were?
just kidding. Yeah.
I thought you were
No. I was just kidding about that. It's
Okay.
over the driving that it was tough. I like to have a rum and coke once in a while, but I don't drink too much.
See, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. No, I never did actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you and Jeff, you are in very similar air. He raced for a long time, did the analyst, now he's back for these couple weeks. You know, have you I don't know if you've spoken to him this weekend, but you're in very similar conditions.
Yeah, and even and I look at it today and I'm like, oh my God, what did you get yourself into, you know? And I look at Jeff coming back just from last year, and the way he's talking about it, it's like, oh my God, it's tough, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's I've been off for a few months, and I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing here? So we'll see, you know. We got to do the race on Sunday the best we can, and hopefully we get a good ride. But you know, it's that's it, and I've learned this weekend that that's enough.
Yeah.
That's it. So you always love it, you know. I have passion for it and love driving these cars, but after that, that's gonna be it.
No, you know, no more opportunities up past this one yet?
No, not at that level. I mean,
No.
it doesn't make sense to me. I look at it this weekend, and it's, you need testing. You need to sit in a car all the time. You need to drive it in different series, yeah, for sure. You know,
Yeah.
I would love to take it, and the Xfinity I would do it and stuff.
Yeah.
But Sprint Cup, no, it's different level.
Right. So, what are your feelings towards the Cup Series now? You know, you're back. You know, how much has changed?
In the Cup, a lot of it has changed. The level of competition is unbelievably high. Gets higher and tougher every year. The cars are like high tech. I mean, people think that they use old technology, and it's not the case, man. It's like Formula One. You know, they spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of. They have a lot of engineers, and they're prepping these cars like to the max they can be prepped within the rules that they have, and it's just changing. But that car has evolved so much since the car of tomorrow, and I was actually glad that I got in it and tried it.
Mm-hmm. So now switching to your open wheel side, you got to race on so many great tracks like, you know, Vancouver, Long Beach. What was the kind of track that really suited you when it came to those cars? Did you like the street circuits, you know, stuff like that?
No, actually, I liked
Yeah, okay.
I liked the high speed stuff.
Yeah.
High speed corners, fast Laguna Seca, Watkins Glen, and things like that. Love these kind of tracks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So,
it was a
yeah.
high speed road course, basically.
Mm-hmm. A place like Laguna Seca, I believe you had that big accident in 2000 there. How did that change your mentality when it came to racing? Was that really a shot in the arm for you?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was not, because and we won. We won after that. I mean, we had fast cars and big teams. Always seemed to sit on the pole there at Laguna and had a few wins. And no, it just like, oh my God, that was bad. Then
Right.
got back in the car and then started racing. But back then, it was different. I mean, a lot of guys got bad injuries, died from it, and cars were crazy fast back then. I remember when we got to Texas, and they canceled the race because we were pulling too many G-force. So it was a different era.
Yeah. A track like Texas, what was it like to really legitimately be on the edge?
It was crazy. I mean, it was so fast. I remember talking to Paul Tracy and a couple other guys and Tony Cannon, and it was like, my God, can you see something or not? And they were like, No, man, I can't see. Paul Tracy told me, he said I was just looking at the dash and I almost crashed because I was already in the corner, and never in my life I had been around Texas where the track felt like there was no straightaway. So, I mean, we averaged in qualifying, I think it was 230 miles an hour. We qualified outside pole second, and I remember that lap that was wide open all the way around, and couldn't see a thing inside the car, and I got loose in 3 and 4, and the car got sideways, and it came back to me, but it was just luck because I was not quick enough to catch it. So it was crazy, and by the time we got to race, and they said, no, we can't do that. We're pulling over 7 Gs combined, so it was crazy.
What does that feel like, 7 Gs in a car?
It was like a video game. It was like an arcade game, and just so fast that it was funny because I had surgery a couple of weeks before because I shattered my wrist, and it was a week and a half before, so they just screwed it together, and they said, go racing, and I went back in the car, and I was really, really dizzy every time I got out of the car. I had to sit down, I couldn't walk, and I thought it was because of the surgery I had, so I kept my mouth shut because I wanted to race. So I was like, oh my God, this is bad. But then when I learned that everybody was the same, that's what it was. But it was so fast. It was like pictures. The racetrack was like a whole bunch of pictures, but it was not continuous. It was not flowing. So even your brain couldn't process the images fast enough. We pulled so many Gs, and it was so fast. I kept about 3 feet from the wall because I couldn't see it, and it was insane. So in my life, I have never had experienced anything like that, and I never had after that.
It was an interesting time when it came to safety. You had a big accident at Road America, flipped many times. So, looking back on it, maybe at the time, what were your thoughts towards the safety and how racing those cars was, very dangerous?
It was, but at the time we didn't know any better. I know they were trying to improve the safety, and we didn't have any safe walls on the track. We just hit the concrete, and I remember at Fontana I hit it in practice. Zanardi did the same, and I spent 2 days in the hospital. And I remember I woke up in the helicopter getting to the hospital, and it was just brutal. It was crazy. And Greg died at Fontana, and Gonzalez died at Laguna Seca, got over the fence like I did, but he passed away. But at that time it was shrug it off, go to bed, and then get it off your mind and go racing next week. And it was just a different era.
Yeah. Now, when you look at what IndyCar does today, they do have the soft walls here in Indy. They got a lot more safety initiatives. So you've been through those tough times. So how do you look at it now today?
Yeah, I'm happy. They really evolved, and safety is important, and everybody's got families and want to go back home, and to your kids and Gordon and these guys, and they all got kids, and it's a very important thing. Today they're trying to work on the show, make it better, make the passing better, try to do everything to please the fans so they come to the track, and so it's a different era, whereas what it was before. So I remember when IndyCar split from Champ Car, it was a huge blow to that series, and they're still working hard today trying to get over it.
Yeah. Your first win came at Michigan. It was an incredible finish. I rewatched it last week. How was that race for you, and you just edged it out?
It was amazing because it took so many years to get a win. It took me a long time, and always second, third, and this and that, and we couldn't get a win, and often it has to do with confidence, and back then it was just tough, and finally got over the hump. And I remember I was sponsored by players at the time, and the collars were blue and white, and man, they had all the blue champagne ready to go, and they must have been there for like the last 2 years because they've been waiting for that one for a long time. And after that, the wins started coming in, and the podiums, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, what a great race, and it was a good show at the end of the race. We had a caution, and ended up winning it, so it was good.
You got your last couple wins at Laguna Seca. How do you look back on those final victories, those last times you got to really enjoy that series?
It was fun, it was fun. I loved it. It was, car was amazing. For some reason, the Laguna Seca track just suited me it was flowing perfectly for my driving style. I knew the track, every inch of the track, and the tricks and the stuff. And I don't know, I just felt so comfortable on that track, and it was good to get the wins there. And I loved it. Sometimes I wish, through my career that I would have been. I think I was pretty nice to everyone, but sometimes I wish I would have been a bit tougher, to demand what I needed. Just more confidence. Everything comes with confidence, and that's what I think. Even though we had the wins and top 3 in the championship a few times, and I think just a little bit more, not arrogant, but would have brought me a championship.
Yeah. Obviously, Greg Moore did pass away, far too early. You knew him well. What do you remember from him and that weekend, and how that whole thing progressed?
It was a crazy weekend. It was a weird weekend, and it didn't feel right from the get-go. Greg was, and it's funny because it was often like that. It's almost like life was trying to tell you something, and Greg, got in a crash on his pit bike. Hit a car and then damaged his thumb, and then they gave him some pills, and then he kept going, and he already had a contract with Penske, very lucrative contract too with Penske, and he didn't have to do that. So, and then he came back in. Then a few weeks before, there had been a lot of shuffling inside the team, and they took away his engineer. Steve Chalice was a brilliant engineer back then. Took him away from Greg. And he had been with Greg since Indy Lights, and even earlier than that, he brought Greg up, and then all these things came together, and he just lost it in the race. I saw him coming in the mirrors, and he started at the back, and I could see he was coming, and he was outside, wide open, and Greg, when he crashed, always held it wide open. And always rotated the car. Remember in Japan, he did it a few times, and rotated the car and didn't hit the wall. And that time he was coming up to speed, and that's why the blow was so violent. Yeah. He held the throttle wide open, and the car just rotated but kept accelerating. Yeah. So he hit that wall so hard, and it was like an explosion. And the next lap I came around, I looked at the back straight, and we couldn't tell which car it was. So I looked at the tower, and I saw Greg's number starting to go down, and you knew that the guy who was in that car was severely injured or died from it. And funny enough, just before they went back to a green flag, my car had an electrical issue. Everybody thought the team pulled me in to stop. No, it just had an electrical problem, and it just shut down. That was it. Just before I passed pit entrance, the engine just shut down, and I tried to restart it. There was nothing, and I just coasted to my pit box. And then once I got there, the team said, well, we're not going to fix it, so just get out. And I got out, and that's when I learned Greg was in a very bad shape.
Right. How did that affect your mindset going forward when it came to what you guys do?
It did. Funny enough, a lot of guys, some guys passed away and died. And I remember that year I moved to Vegas from Indianapolis, and it was just a weird winter. It was different. It was one of the toughest thing I've ever experienced in racing, and it was not like, it was like, it was like, my God, that's it, done. Then we never thought that Greg could die doing this. Greg could get out of everything. He was like super fast, super human. He was the best at everything, and it was a bit of a shock. So that what was bad, I think, is if you go back racing the next weekend, then you get it out of your mind, go back in it, and go back racing. But that was it. That was the last race of the season, and all winter we had to live with that. And after that, it was different.
Yeah. So you never thought about, maybe ending your career earlier?
No, you never did think about that back then. But one thing is for sure, is when I got to the IRL back then, they're much safer nowadays. But when I got to the IRL back then and saw Kenny Brack and these guys and get injured like that, and I did a year, and I said after I saw Briscoe crashed at Chicago, was sitting in the grass, the car was like half split in half, and I could see his legs on the grass. He was lucky; he had almost nothing, just broken shoulders.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, "That's it. Yeah, Indy cars. That's it for me." And I stopped after that. I've never been in one since.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was it.
Yeah. So now going to a better time. You drove side by side with a fighter jet on a big runway. I watched the video of that, and it was incredible. So what was it like inside the driver's seat?
It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I mean, that engine must have had 1,200 horsepower, 1,100 horsepower. I remember at the time we had 900, 850, 900. Guys built an engine, took the pop-off valve off of it, and cranked that turbo up, and it was insane. Anyway, it had so much power, I couldn't get off the line. And I mean, I was impressed with those fighter jets. They get off the line fast.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing's heavy, and that, like the guy told me, he said, if you see I start getting in front of you, you need to turn right. And he said, go in the grass, turn right, go somewhere else, because I mean the thrust from the engine's just gonna blow you away.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he saw me. I kept wheel spinning. I started in second gear, and I was like whoop whoop whoop, and he started to get in front of me.
Yeah.
And he saw me because he went like, and then off throttle, and then that gave me a chance to come back beside him. And then he went back full throttle after that, because I think he would have blown me away. And it was amazing. Actually, he got off the ground and was up in the air, and I could see him on the corner of the mirror, and he couldn't catch me. And I was like, holy cow, these cars are fast. And we rode, there was 6,000 feet, I think, the runway all the way to the cables at the end. And he stayed there, and he was up in the air, and I was right here.
Wow.
And he couldn't catch up. And I was like, man, these things are fast, the Indy cars. And at the end, he just took off before then he got to me and passed me. But I was like, my God, it was a lot of fun.
Whose idea was that? Why were you guys doing that?
It was a promo from the Army, the Canadian Army. They have a show every year, and they bring people out, and they promoted it like crazy. And players at the time was a little bit like Red Bull, and they liked extreme stuff, and so they wanted that at the show, and we did it, and it was a lot of fun.
In your career, and maybe even here in NASCAR, U.S. dominated, you ever feel like you were racing for Canada? Did you ever feel that was a responsibility for you to represent your country, or is that never in your mind?
It was, but not like that. For me, it's funny because my life has always been split between Canada and U.S. and I have an accent, but I've lived more than half my life in the U.S. So I've lived 18 years in the U.S. full time, and I've been back and forth with Canada. And it's funny because I've never wanted to go racing in Europe because I loved America, North America, and I want to race here. I want to live here, and I always have. And I'm a U.S. citizenship, and I have Canadian citizenship, and I always had both. My kids are born in the U.S., and we always split between the two. And I'm as proud as being a U.S. citizen as I am a Canadian citizen. Right. So for me, I've always been. And when I was racing NASCAR, it's funny because I got my U.S. citizenship, and she said when I passed the test and all that, and she goes, "On your car, you're gonna have an American flag, huh? Will you?" I said, "Yeah, I'll have both." And she was like, "Okay." And I always had the Canadian on one side and the U.S. on the other side. Yeah. So.
Did you ever think about joining Formula One? Was that ever on your radar?
Never. It's weird, because we come from F1 up north in Canada with Gilles Villeneuve and Jacques Villeneuve, and I never have. I never had interest to go over to Europe, and lived in California. A lot of people from the U.S. helped me, Peggy Haas and with Lynx Racing and Steve Cameron and all these guys, and they brought me up, and they were from here in California, and I've lived there for a while, lived in Indy for a while, lived in Vegas. So no, I always never had that much of an interest.
You think you would have been able to take those guys? Do you think you would have been able to be competitive if you got with the team?
Oh yeah, I think so. I don't think F1 guys have anything over what you see here in the Sprint Cup Series or Indy cars. They're good guys. I mean, back then was a bit different. I think they were a lot more specialized. You know, the F1 car was a beast. It had huge tires, a lot of power, no traction control, no this, no, and a lot of stuff that's different nowadays. And you know, and I remember just watching was it in Paris, they have the Race of Champions at the end of the year where they have different cars and they bring all the top drivers in the world. I think F1 guys or here Sprint Cup is as good a driver to one another. And I remember Carl Edwards went there, and he had a race against Schumacher, and it was funny because the guys in Europe were like, oh my god, like almost like, oh, this is gonna be humiliating for Edwards. Oh shit, this is gonna be tough. And then Edwards spanked Michael Schumacher. And I love Schumacher because after the race they interviewed him. Oh, what was the problem? And he just went like he just kicked my ass. I have nothing to say, and it was pretty good. You know, I don't say Carl was better than Michael or anything like that, but they're as good as drivers. I think these cars here are as hard to drive or harder than an F1 car.
Yeah. Two more questions. Who would you say is your favorite or maybe least favorite competitors that, you know, from the very first day to right now, who are your favorite competitors when it came to people who really pushed you on the track?
I think, honestly, that's a hard question to answer because I think every series, if you want to win, you got to work so hard at it and be the best, and be the best drivers always seems to end up with the best teams, and it's just like, and you need luck. I'll be really, really honest. You need luck. You need to be at the right place, have the right performance at the right time, and that's it. You know, that's what it is. Whether it's racing, hockey, or I don't care what it is, you just need to have that. And every series, if you want to win, it's as hard as one another. It is.
What's your favorite thing to do outside the track? Any other sports?
Yeah, I do a lot of cycling. I mean, I cycle a lot. I do a lot of snowboard with my kids in the winter, so I love that. That's my favorite sport outside track. Outside of racing, I mean, cycling is cool, and swimming, I love it with the kids. And now I'm building an older car, and it's a Beetle, and I'm putting like a lot of horsepower in it and lowering it, and that's what I do when I got spare time.
Yeah, that's great. And final question, how would you like to be remembered in your racing career?
Well, for me, it's, I'll be really honest. I mean, I haven't accomplished what Jeff Gordon has, or Stewart, or some of these guys have, but I always had a wonderful time doing it. Got some wins, raced at the top level for a long time, made a living out of it. It gave me a good life, and I still benefit from it to this day today. So I was one of the very fortunate ones to have a long career at the professional level. And I don't know, remembered as a guy that enjoyed life and was kind to people, especially the fans, all my life. And I think the guys need to remember that, because once those grandstands are empty, you don't have a sport anymore.
Yeah, I absolutely appreciate your time. This is great, man.
All right, thanks.
You're great.
No, that was
Thank you
good.
very much.